Uncensored is brought to you by PointsBet. Check out PointsBet's great odds and offers. Go to PointsBet, download the PointsBet app, and gamble responsibly. Well, today's guest, he was a robust hooker in the early 90s for Western Parramatta, but he turned his hand to coaching where he guided the Cronulla Sharks to their first and only title in 2016. Uncensored welcomes Premiership winning coach Shane Flanagan. Flano, how you going, mate?
Good, Brett. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How's life?
Yeah, not too bad. Keeping busy doing a bit of commentary and a bit of radio, so path you've been down.
Yeah.
But, I want to get back into coaching eventually.
Mate, I've gone through all the stations, just like I did Rugby Leagues Club. Mate, commentating.
Yep.
It's a bit different. How you've enjoyed it? How have you liked commentating? You're an expert now, aren't you? A commentator.
Yeah. No, it's been a bit of a challenge and got me out of I needed to think about what I was doing and what I was saying rather than sometimes in a dressing room you just sort of let it go, and the way you feel. But definitely in the commentary box and on the radio, you need to make sure that you're not offending anyone and you make sure you get your words out correctly. Yeah. So it's been a bit of a challenge, but really enjoyed it, mate.
The new rules. Or just the game in general. How have you seen it? Have you seen it, I suppose, from a coach's point of view, big changes to how you would coach or how you would prepare teams?
Yeah, it's definitely a big change to how you prepare teams because, even when you're playing that, a lot of stuff was practiced from set starts.
Yeah.
So either scrums or penalties, kickoffs, score a try and what you do after it. It wasn't, I think ball in play was about 6 or 7 minutes max back when you were playing. So it's changed now. You can go big periods of time where you actually don't get a scrum or you don't get a penalty. Yeah. So you need to be able to react from that. So definitely the way you train is different. We had a look on the weekend that we saw a lot of, high shots and tackles that went wrong. I think it's going to continue because the game's so fast now. Yeah. So if you speed the game up, there's got to be a consequence of it. And I think obviously a few of these tackles at the moment are probably led to a little bit of fatigue and a little bit of the game's so fast that if you slip up or your timing's out a little bit, you could end up in trouble. So as I said, if you speed something up, there's going to be a consequence of it. And I think that's what we're seeing at the moment. You
would have been playing when the 5 metre rule went to the 10 metre rule.
Yeah, I can't remember that. But it's always been 10 as far as I can remember.
I remember Dad telling me when they were at the Knights, when the Knights come in 88, they geared their team to the 5 with the forward packs, the big Sargents, Harrigans, Peter Johnson, Bugsy. That's how the team was geared. And then the 10 metres, it took them probably 18 months, 24 months to
catch up,
get the new player. Do you think we're the type of, I don't want to say athlete, or the type of footy player in your team or the types of players on the bench are changing instead of, 10 years ago where that middleman used to be, like your lock used to be an extra front rower sort of thing? Do you think the type of play is changing?
Yeah, I do. And then you've hit the nail on the head when you talk about that lock. That lock needs to be a ball player now, and he's not that big bloke to just come on and get forward and get down. And all your forwards now have got skill. They can all catch and pass. Your front rowers have got a real role in that passing game where, previous years that was never even thought of.
Their rule was don't pass. They weren't allowed to pass.
Some coaches said, hey, you get a message to him and tell him if he passes the ball again, he'll be sitting on the sideline. But now they're encouraged to pass and promote the football. So, it's definitely changed. And, this is the second year of it. I know we had COVID last year and there was a bit of a break, but I think all the players are adapting to it and so are the coaches. And, the teams that adapt the fastest, are those obviously the teams with the real classy players, the Melbournes, the Roosters, the Souths. I think Souths are a classic example of that can play ad-lib footy a lot and just get it done.
Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day and people say you've got to play eyes up footy. But it's a bit like when people say, they got great culture. Well, what is it? Because what Andrew John's seen was different to what I see to what I see. How would you coach that? How would there be things you could do to coach to encourage players to play what they see? Or do you coach scenarios where if you get this situation, these are the types of things you can do?
Yeah, I think you could, if this happens, you've got option 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
But, probably back when you're playing, it was more structured in relation to it's either 1 or 2 options.
Very rarely went to 2.
Yeah. Think if you get to this field position, you've only got 1 or 2 options here. But now you've probably got 3 or 4 or maybe 5 options. And I think the players that we talk about eyes up footy, and I still think, players in your day, players prior to that would all adapt to it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, when you talk about, the touch footy style and, the Benji's still going great at his age, so I think the players that can adapt to it, but, you still need that big man that get forward and you still need that tough bloke. So I think players from all eras would be able to adapt.
Mate, the conference, the conference competition they're talking about, do you think this is a reaction of, well, we've made the rule to fasten the game up, now we see the gap in the game, now we're making another change? Well, what's your take on that? Whether it goes ahead or not, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I think, obviously, I think 18 teams would be fantastic. We definitely need another team in Brisbane. I'm not sure about the other side in New Zealand. I just don't know if there's enough, support and, interest in New Zealand to support another side. Let's get behind the Warriors first and get them pumping. They still haven't won a competition.
Exactly.
So, I don't know if that side's ready yet. But, if we go 17 teams, we've got an odd number, we've got to buy. And if we go into the conferences, I think the conference would be okay. But, as I said, I'd probably need to see a little bit more detail to it. But, 18 rounds, do we just play everyone once? And then you play them at home, and then the following year you play them at their ground, I think that, there's a bit of merit to that. Cut the rounds down and then throw Origin in there. You still got a lot of footy.
I reckon the players would be really happy for an odd number, so there is a bye. I used to love a bye during the season.
For different reasons.
Especially when you get the week off, it's the green light, go for it. What were you like as a kid? What was life growing up like for you?
Yeah, it wasn't much different. My parents were involved in footy clubs and I had two sisters, so it was netball sort of on the Saturday. I didn't really like going to do that type of stuff. And then it was off to footy. My man was pretty involved in the local footy club, which was St George Dragons in the Canterbury districts there. So played all my junior footy there and, wasn't really good at it, but I loved being involved in it. And then as I got older, I sort of, progressed a little bit more, and then I went across to the Dragons and sort of played estuary ball and President's Cup and Jersey Flag and all that sort of stuff. So it's always been a part of my life, and I love it. Yeah.
Well, now for your hero segment, it's brought to you by Swish. Swish is the most exciting and personalised fan experience, all from the convenience of your own phone. Go to heyswish.com for more info. Who was your hero growing up, and who did you support?
I supported the Dragons as I was growing up. That was probably because of more of, if your dad went for the Dragons, you played for the Dragons, you went for the Dragons. So, mate, growing up, I used to like probably other players that I used to love watching Terry Lamb play, and he was at the Dogs, and I used to go to a lot of Canterbury games, and because they were, the high flying on them, and they used to, be honest, bash teams, and Folkes and Gillespie and all them, and even before then, Robbo, with
Jeff Robinson.
So I used to love.
I love that footage when Parramatta do the wall off the tap, and he just come through and sunk his knees, I think his elbows back or something, just killed him.
So I didn't really have too many people I followed at the Dragons, but I was lucky enough. I used to love watching Brett Kenny play, and I was lucky enough to go and play with Brett Kenny, at the end of his career. So that was a highlight for me as well. So I had a lot of sort of players in footy that I sort of used to love watching play, and but no real role model.
That was my next question. You obviously played for the Dragons, debuted at the Dragons, and a couple of seasons at the Magpies and Eels. Who were some of your favourite teammates, or your best teammates you played with, if you had any? If you can remember that.
Yeah, I had some characters at the Dragons. I was coming off the back of real successful footy teams. They'd been in grand finals, and lower grades we played in a couple of grand finals and won a couple. Lucky enough to win some lower grade grand finals, and they had really strong teams right through. And back then, blokes used to come through third grade if they come back from injury, and so you got to play with some, the Graham Wins and Craig. Not that Craig Young come back for a reserve.
No, he's straight first grade. I think if Albert come out of retirement now, he'd put himself straight in first grade.
But it was, it was really good for your experience to get those blokes come through and play with them, and then. When I went to West, it was more of my age group. And, one bloke that there's so many stories could talk to you about probably is Darren Britt. He was a classic, typical front row that trained hard, partied hard and played hard on the weekend, and then wasn't real skillful, I think, but went on and played for the Dogs and played for his country and had a fantastic career. But he was a larrikin, and he had a little sidekick there called Jason Liddon that used to get up to a bit of trouble.
Lock forward, 5'8".
He was a talented player. So they were characters, and then when I went on to Para, there was a few more. Scotty Marm was always up to
fullback.
Fullback. He was always up to no good. And
Danny Krenkovic still there?
Yeah, Danny Krenkovic was there. Yeah. So there are heaps of players with all clubs, and you're so lucky. You look back when you finish playing, and I know you talk about it. The people you meet and the characters you meet is just you just do it for that. You know, you wouldn't. You'd play just to be part of all those, meet those people and be part of their lives. It's just great when you look back at it.
And that's what I like. Obviously when you're playing, you want to succeed and you want to win. And obviously you were my assistant coach for a while, and you get fucking caught up like it's the end of the world. But when you retire, now I'm nearly 7-8 years retired, you catch up with the boys and you don't talk about one game. You talk about the bus trips and the trips away and all the good stuff in that. You don't even mention any of the games.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to be when you were at the Roosters. They had some fantastic success and had a star-studded team. And I remember they used to always play the joke on you. Would have, if you played rep footy, you're over when we'd start to warm up. They'd say, "We'll have a game of touch to warm up." All the blokes that have played rep footy come over here, and all the blokes that haven't played rep footy go over there. And you used to go over there on your own.
Yeah, I was about the only one there until I come back when I finally got 18th man one time. I come back with me. I wore my New South Wales jumper jacket to training. And Stiggy said, right, it was after I kicked the field goal, he goes, I'll give you 24 hours and I don't want to fucking hear about it again. Mate, and I remember those times the coaching staff, you were just about as mad as us players. I remember first coming across you, Flano, you turned to coaching. Actually, before we go back, you finished your career at Parramatta. Like Brett Kenny, and that's coming off the glory years of Parramatta, and they haven't revisited since. What was that like being involved with some of those players?
Yeah, well, I come from... obviously, I was at the Dragons, and then that was a great experience. And then I went to West, and I was really lucky that I was with a younger group of players. Jason Taylor, Jamie Ainscote, Darren Britt, Jason Liddon, and they were all around the same age. And we had a young side. And then Warren Ryan came to the club, and he bought Paul Langmack, David Gillespie, Joe Thomas, Andrew Farrow, Jimmy Dimmick. He bought all these older players in 1 year. It was just a Graham Wynn. In 1 year, just bought all these players, and I learned a lot that year about footy. Like I thought I knew about footy, but Warren Ryan taught us, about why we're doing things and, how to get things done properly. So that was good. And then I went to Para under Mick Cronin and learned a lot of things about, life in general. And Crow was just a really good person, and Parramatta was such a big club coming off all that success, and to be involved with Brett Kenny and Peter Sterling and playing their last games was a fantastic, opportunity for me, because watching them grow up and then to get to play with them was just fantastic. And I remember Brett Kenny's last game that we played Balmain at Parramatta Stadium, and it was chockers. It was full, obviously, for Brett. And he got in a fight. There was a fight in a scrum. He packed in at lock. I didn't know. He packed in at lock and then punched someone from lock. And there was a big fight, and Benny and Blocker and all them, and
that's the last place you want to go against.
And Ciro,
and you're in the front row.
Yeah, I just grabbed Benny and just tried to do my best. And after the fight, they called everyone over, and Brett Kenny walked over because everyone knew he started it, and they said the referee said. Started to talk to Brett, and he goes, "Listen, mate, all these people are here to see me play my last game, not here to see you referee." And Brett just turned away and walked away, and he goes, "Mate, someone's got to go." And he looked around and he said, "Oh, well, what's that bloke's name over there? Flanagan, come here.
You're gone.
You're gone. You're right." So I got sent off in
sent off?
Yeah, sent off in Brett Kenny's last game. Me and Ciro, it was only about 10 or 15 minutes to go in the half, but yeah, me and Ciro got sent off. Yeah, so
thanks, Bert.
Mate, I ran up that tunnel so quickly because Ciro was going to get me in the tunnel. I was terrified that he was going to bash me in the tunnel. So.
You would have been more terrified if it was Blocker coming after you.
So.
You spoke about Warren Ryan then. I'm just going off to the side here. I'll get your opinion on this. Alan Bell was Warren Ryan's right-hand man there, and then he comes through with Alan McMahon at the Knights, and he created the block play and all that. And I spoke to Belly up there when I went up for Piercy's 300s. And he was just talking about ball players, very good with halves. And he's saying when people run the plays, people are just doing them for the sake of doing them. He said, you've got to have a starting point. There's like you said with Warren, there's a reason why you do it. Why you're doing this play is for the next playoff, for this to happen. And Alan was saying there's a starting point where you've got to start to do the play, and there's, when you finish, there's a finishing point where you've got to execute the play, but a lot of young kids are just doing the play. Do you find, in the gap we see now with the game, that's exposed the actual coaching of young kids?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think for that cookie cutter, I'm doing it for the sake of doing it. Like, they don't know why they're doing it or...
Yeah, well, and even in lower grades in
Yeah.
junior rep footy and all that, they see stuff that happens in the NRL field and they replicate it, but they don't know why or how they're doing really. They run the play for the sake of the play, and you know, some of the sides I go to, you know, I try to explain, hey, get to the right field position and run this play correctly. Just don't run it for the sake of running it. But I suppose that's in all sports. You know, you're getting young fathers having to coach teams, and just because they haven't got that coach. But you know, Warren Ryan was a classic example of that. You know, and who we're trying to work on. You know, what are we trying to achieve running this play? And then we had to. And as I said, I learned a heap that year, and you know, put me in good stead when I went to Para. You know, Brian Smith was completely the opposite. He was a school teacher and really well organised, and he planned his sessions out to the minute. So, you know, got a bit of both. I got a real footy brain who didn't care if he did one play for an hour, but we're going to get it right in Warren Ryan, to Brian Smith being real school teacher, explain it, run it. Your attention span's only 8 to 10 minutes here, Finchy, so we've got to change.
About 4 minutes for me.
So I've got to go to the next drill. So, yeah, I had some really good coaches.
Well, just really straight, and probably just before we go starting, when you actually started under Brian at Parramatta, then for you, talking about as a head coach, obviously your main job is to win first grade games. But you've got to keep an eye on what's coming through and how the kids are being coached. So, in a way, do you have to coach the coaches? I know that probably sounds weird, but because you've got your own team to coach, but you've got to make sure these kids coming through are being taught right.
Well, that's what Brian Smith started to do. He knew at Parramatta that he had such a large junior base and basically a factory. What's happened at Penrith, we see happen at Penrith now, is that you can't get to all those kids and coach all the kids. So you've got to coach the coaches and have your best coaches in your junior league. And you know, that's what we tried to do at the Sharks. We set up an elite academy, and I put some really good coaches in down with the lower ones. So when they got to me, we started them when they were 14. We taught them how to lift properly in the gym and how to train properly, how to eat, sleep, and then by the time they get to us at 18, they're really well educated in football. But you can't do that yourself. You've got to put the coaches in place, and that's probably a key thing that's changed over the years, that good coaches are down in those lower grades now.
Mate, you had because I remember playing 17s, I think it was 19s against your Jersey Flag Parramatta team. You had a lot of success there in the juniors as a coach, and some pretty handy teams. Yeah,
my word, I was pretty lucky.
Yeah. What sort of players did you look back?
Hindmarsh, Nathan Hindmarsh, Nathan Kalis, Jason Kalis, Jamie Lyon, Luke Burt, Pat Richards. Oh, mate, you could name an NRL side out of it. And Parramatta had that. That's what they were like back then. You know, Dean Withers. We had all those players coming through, and
I remember coming through. That was my era when I was 16, 17. It's like he's won everything, and he pretty much did every year. All
they
grades.
Expected to. You know what? We knew we had the best junior base, and we knew we were competing against Penrith and Newcastle, and every year that we'd go into, we'd expect to win the competition. And I played in we won a couple of grand finals, and I remember one grand final, we got our front row sent off in the first tackle of the game. First tackle, Martin Meredith, Steve Meredith. And he got sent off in the first minute of the game, but we still won by 30. So that's what the type of depth, it's the type of depth we had. Players like Jamie Lyon and in a junior age group, they just
you would have Birdie too at that. Birdie was a great junior. Luke Burt.
Luke Burt was fantastic junior. Kick goals, run, score tries. So, as I said, elite of the elite juniors they had.
Yeah. Now, not only when you come to the Roosters. Mate, you coach a team that went undefeated in 2004. Led by Sowie. Sowie had a remarkable. He scored about 6 million points that year, Sowie. And I spoke to Sowie the other week, and I don't think too many of them have gone on, but at that age, they were outstanding. And there wasn't an under-19s competition that went for 12 weeks. This went 24 weeks and the 4 finals, and you just went undefeated.
Yeah, I was at Para, and I obviously had some success at Para, and I remember Gus coming and seeing me and he said that they got a good group of 20s that they want to have a real good crack at, and I had no intentions of leaving Para, but Gus convinced me to go, and that was my first year that I actually went full time. I was always part time coaching and had a plumbing business, but I went to the Roosters and had that group of players, and you know, obviously involved with all you blokes in the NRL. They had reserve grade made the grand final that year and first grade made. So it was like the Dragons when I first started. It was just expected success and had all 3 grades in the grand final. And not too many went on from that side, but they were elite juniors, you know. And,
they were great.
They were a great team. And, you know, we had probably our tightest game was the grand final.
Oh, yeah. I think Sowie kicks 2 field goals.
Yeah. So, but they had just had you know, when you get a group of players and they just believed that they were going to win every week, and they were had a bit of an attitude about them and a bit of a swagger, and they just as momentum built during the year, you could just smell it and feel it that they weren't going to get beat.
Well, we were always obviously with first grade, you tendency you can watch the 19s more than reserve grade. You might be out warming up, and if you come within a try in a game, it's like, oh, they must have played bad. They've only won by 6 points.
Yeah.
Mate, you move up to assistant coach. That must have been. Well, one you had to put up with me. That would have been interesting. But it was probably a tough time for the Roosters because we'd fucking fallen off an almighty cliff. You know, Freddie'd left and we'd been high, and it was like a real big rebuilding year. What do you remember from those days?
Yeah, well, 2004 I went there, and that was a pretty good year. 2005 started to get a little bit tougher, and then 2006 got a bit tougher again. You know,
damn right it was.
You know, that happens at every club. I think, you know, after you have sustained success, and you know the Roosters were like that club. Eventually, well, you know, when I see that a little bit happening at the Sharks with Gal and that leaving, and when you have, you know, players like Brad Fittler leave a club, it's hard to replace. You know, Luke Ricketson, you know, Adrian Morley's, they all sort of left at the same time, and it's hard to replace those players just at once. And so, you know, going up to assistant with Sticky, and it was a challenge because the club still wanted to win.
Tell me about it.
And they still had behaviours of a winning side, like party hard. And,
we did,
But they didn't have the results. So that was you know, things didn't change. You still trained really hard. I remember, you know, some of the training sessions, you know, at Newdown and all that sort of stuff, they were ridiculous, you know, what Sticky put you through. But that was the culture that you were in, that you knew that no side were fitter than you. And I remember Sticky talking to, you know, when you're really successful, that, you know, no sides are fitter than you, no blokes can go with you. And you looked around and you had blokes like Morley and Rico and all that, and you believed it.
Yeah.
You believed it. Mightn't have been true, but you definitely believed it. But as they started to
not
retire,
being there.
and
you look around.
It becomes a little bit harder. So things didn't change. The training stayed the same and the partying stayed the same, but the results weren't there. So,
that changed.
Yeah, so then things started to get a bit messy. Sticky left.
We all left. Like me, it was only Freddie retired. I got arseholed out. I remember Freddie was a great buffer, and I always say with Stick, I had Stick on last year, and we get on great now, but fuck. You seen it firsthand. I mean, Stick going at it. But when it was good, it was great. Yeah. And he had pressure on him from the board, and he put that pressure on me, which was fine, and I put it on the players because I'd fucking ride them. But I remember sometimes, because Freddie retired, you would have to come and, like, you're like the quarterback's coach, you know, go fucking tell him, and you'd have to come over to me, and sometimes you'd cover me arse, and, mate, I said there, like, but you were the buffer. And
Sticky used to get to me, like, and they used to be at each other for like 4 days a week, and he'd go, mate, I've had enough of him. You go and talk to him, you go and deal with him, and I'd go and, you know, take a different approach to Sticky with you, you know, and go, come on, Pinchy, you know, we need to do these things. And
I'd spend half it whinging about fucking him, and he'd be whinging about me.
But I thought, you know, that relationship was so robust in different areas that you could have that debate and everything because he knew what you could do, and he wanted you to be able to reach your potential, and, you know, whether you did or you didn't, you know, and he put it's still to today, Ricky puts so much trust in his halfback. He's the most important bloke in the team, you know, because that's what Sticky's like, you know. He was a halfback that, you know, if you don't kick the ball properly, like, he still can't understand that, you know, like.
Mate, Minnie used to do bomb practice.
Yeah, at the end of training.
And he would come in and go, get out the fucking way, your kicks aren't high enough. He'd be fucking kicking them. You follow Stick for Cronulla. What do you take? And I go on and you spent some time under Bellyache as an assistant coach for years in New South Wales. What do you take from all those people at the stadium? Could you take bits and pieces and then add them to yours, or know what you can and can't do?
Yeah, you have to, I think, to develop as a coach. You know, you need to understand what makes those blokes tick, and you know, the good, and maybe what you believe is not so good of those, you know, the way they do things, but you've always got to be able to do it yourself. And, Sticky was the ultimate motivator. Like, he'd get sides up and he'd get him to believe stuff that probably sometimes wasn't true. Like, I remember him trotting at half-time and trot stats out.
Yeah.
That he never even looked at the
or
stats.
say this. Did you hear what they've said this about you? You go, what? But every week you go to Adrian Morley, did you hear what that other front rower said about you? And poor old Moz was dumb as a fucking box of stones. You'd go, did he? And get him every time.
I remember there's a couple of classics that he told, he's got, I think you would have been there, that he got us all up like after 2 minutes of the half time, and he said, go out there now and do it. And the doorman of the thing goes, and the referee's boss and the crew for Channel 9 go, no, you can't go yet, you can't go yet. And Sticky's there, go, you've got to go. And whoever was captain pushed past all these people and ran out in the field and stood out in the field for 4 or 5 minutes.
Had nothing else to say. Well, I remember that we played Canterbury in 03. And that was sort of like, because they got knocked out in 02, the Roosters. So we were the rivals going through the year. But I've never been more fucking pumped for a game. Like, the intent, and crazy to say, but for a grand final, we're quite flat coming off that. Yeah. You're still up, but it was just a different feeling. Yeah. Because, mate, he had us fucking through, and we went out there and smashed the dogs. Yeah. But you're exactly right, mate. He could believe. Yeah, he could make you come out of line and shoulder charge your own mother. Like she said this about you. Go,
well, he just had a knack of being able to get people motivated, and you talk about Moz, and some of those stories, mightn't have motivated Freddie, but they definitely motivated Moz. So he had the knack of getting people up, and he was a young coach then. I think he's definitely changed. You can't do some of the things that he was doing back then, but that was fantastic learning experience for me. And then, obviously you said bellyache in Origin, like that was another step as well, how to prepare a side in rep footy, against the Queensland side that was probably the best side ever put together, so that was hard. But we tried hard and were close a couple of times. We just couldn't get it done. And so, take a little bit of all of them. And as I said, when I was playing, the Warren Ryans, Brian Smiths and Mick Cronins, you take a little bit of all of them as well. So, and then, you hopefully you get it right in yourself, but you never know.
Well, you take over from Stigler in 2010.
Yep.
What was the first thing you thought, fuck, I need to change this, or I think we can improve here? And how much difference was it? Did you realise if it was a difference between, obviously there's a difference between assistant and head coach, but was it greater or bigger, or what was the biggest change for you once you took over?
They always, and I talk about that to assistant coaches and, coaches are just coming into the role now that, they always say that they know it's going to be a big job, but they still don't, you don't get it, mate. Yeah, until you get the phone calls at night and from board members.
Lucky you weren't head coach for me then.
Yeah. It is a big job, but, when I took over from Sticky, Sticky knew that the side wasn't good enough, and so the first thing I had to do was, what Sticky would have done as well, get rid of a few. We needed to turn that list over and that roster. So, it took me. I only took over this tail end of 2010 in the last 5 games, and then. I just had to clean the roster out. It's unfortunate because you've got.
I was going to say, because you're like, we still get on great now every time I see you at the games. So you're a player's coach, you get on great with the boys. That must be a tough part of coaching to go.
To tell players that, that...
And it's probably some blokes ain't going to get a fucking start elsewhere.
Yeah. That we're moving on, and, that some of them are on contract, and you got to tell them that, I would like you to look somewhere else. So it becomes hard because, they've got family and friends and their mothers and fathers you've talked to. Sometimes you've got relationships with them, and so it does become a bit tricky. But if you want to do that head coaching role, you just need to sometimes just bite the bullet. And for me, it's always tried to be, really honest with them and just say, we're going another direction. I've got someone better than you, and off we go. I
think when I look back, and Sticky was tough on me, but I know certainly at times I would have been a pain in the arse to coach. So as you get older, I might have been filthy then. Flano made that decision, but he was fucking right. You know you're done. Mate, the second year, obviously 2010, so the second year, 2012, you take the Sharks back to the finals for the first time in about 4 or 5 years. And that season you had a 6-match winning streak that they hadn't had for 13 years or something. Did you lose the first week of the semis by Canberra?
Geez, you're going back now. I can't remember.
But you must have thought, fuck, we're on the right track here.
Yeah. I had a real philosophy on what I wanted to do and the type of player I wanted to get there. And, I had Gal, and that year, 2011, I went and signed Wade Graham, who was like a gun kid. And he was coming through. We knew he wasn't going to be straight away a good player, but I could.
Well, he debuted at 6. Wait, didn't he? So you must have got him at 13.
And he sort of suited our style of footy, and so I tried to build this side around obviously our best player being Gal, and we had some really good players. And I think without, I know I missed a couple, but to get Jeremy Smith, to get Luke Lewis, to get Wade Graham, and then. In that period too, we had some players came that made a real impact. Bo Ryan came across.
Heine, did he come across?
Heine come across and played in the grand final. He was fantastic, for culture and attitude. Bryce Gibbs, he had to retire, did his Achilles, and then, later on Andrew Fafita and Luke Lewis, and they come on. So I needed to attract good players. I didn't have time to go and buy too many Wade Grahams where we could wait till they developed, and so we had to not buy players that were at the top of their game.
How hard is that? Where you would have a model, and I'm sure you do now. I'm sure you did back then, and it may change how you think the game should be played, or how hard is it to go? Well, fuck, this is how I think we can win. This is how I think this is how I think. If I coach a team like this, you can win the grand final, but I don't have the fucking team to execute. How's that hard to
I think it's
jigsaw
really
the pieces around to get a bit of both,
It's a really important question, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, that you need to change the way you play and the way you coach because of the players that you got. Like if you got halves that can't get it done or can just shovel the ball, you just or a half that is a really good runner, and you want to try and make him a ball player. Well, look at Brisbane at the moment. They're trying to make their halves do things they're not comfortable or can't do. So you need to change your game, and that's a challenge.
Which might be not something you think.
Not when you're
how
building
you
the
want,
team.
how you would want to play, but you got to play it that way.
Do it, and that's what the good coaches do. Like you see, we'll use Melbourne as a classic example. They've got some hookers that come in there, but Brandon Smith is not like Cameron Smith. Brandon Smith's a runner and gets out of there and does all stuff that's unpredictable. Harry Grant's a little bit more Cameron, but their halves are nothing like Cooper. So they've had to adapt and start.
Well, they're both two fullbacks.
Yeah, so they've had to change, and I think the way they get coached during the week is definitely. But if you think you can just have one style of coaching and one style of playing the game, and when you go to a club, like if I got parachuted into anywhere and I think I'm just going to do this style of footy, I need to have a look at the roster first and say, that's not achievable or that is achievable. As I said earlier, I think Brisbane's a classic example. Like their halves can't do what the coach wants them to do at the moment, so they can't have success.
Do you think, and this is not, for lack of a better word, ego. Well, that's where our problem was at the Roosters. Not only Stick, but definitely our players. We've had success like that, playing this way, behaving this way off the field, training this way. I ain't changing.
Yep.
That's it must be a hard thing to go.
Players didn't want to change.
That's what I'm saying. That's me. I myself I'm not slowing down on the drink. I train hard, play like
I've played in grand finals. I'm playing Origin. I'm playing for
exactly.
Australia. You've had all this success, and all those players did.
100%.
Why are we going to change? Yeah, that's hard.
And that is hard not only for coaches to see it, but obviously for players as well, isn't it? To know, well, fuck, this ain't working.
No, it's not. And you get into a bit of a rut, and you think that, when I've got players, I've seen players down at the Sharks that get into that position. We won the comp in 2016. And, whatever they did then, they thought it was going to get them through 17, 18 and 19.
And you do.
You get older and you get injuries and you get all these other things that you have family, you have kids, and it takes you away from your focus. When I first started, Gal had no kids.
Yeah.
He would train 24/7 if I allowed him to. Now, when I've got
you wouldn't have a problem with that with me.
Him to training,
Where is he?
I had he had to drop kids to school and he had all these other things that impacted on his career. So you're 100% right, Finchy, that things change quickly, and players need to change as much as coaches need to change 100%. Because it just doesn't work that way.
Now, we'll get into the 2016 in a minute, but obviously the 2013, the ASADA issue raises its head, and we don't want to drag it on. I'm sure you had a gut feel talking about it. But in terms of how hard was that for you, and not only that, for your family, like Kyle's a young fella in the juniors, and you're still fronting up, you're still coaching through that whole period. How hard was that for instead of having to that whole issue, and even to
without
now,
going into the nitty gritty bits of it, like 2013, I coached, and all the players were, getting interviews and accused, and they didn't really know what was going on as well. And 2013, it was it was just an awful year for the players.
Yeah.
And I just sort of had to deal with it, and it wasn't a great year, that's for sure. There's a lot of stuff going on. Players meeting, and it was really strange because we couldn't get any advice from anyone because no one had been through any of this like this before, and no one wanted to talk about it. And to be really honest, it was handled disgracefully by everyone, not just one people. But the way the government handled, the way the NRL handled, the way the ASADA handled, it was awful. But we got through it, and some of the players are stronger for it. But it was an awful situation, and then led into 2014, and we had no CEO, we had no football managers, we had nothing down at the Sharks back then, and they suspended me for 9 months for not supervising a trainer, which
that's his job.
That's his job in my view. I never took that really well, and I didn't accept it at the time. People talk about governance and so on, but I was a footy coach.
You're not in the gym. Strength and conditioning does that.
And I didn't handle that really well, and didn't accept it. Which it is what it is, and I understand. Things as a coach, you got certain responsibilities, but as a club and a game, we let out the players down to a certain degree as well. But there were some certain people that needed to be held accountable, and we got on with it. To the players' credit, they sort of knuckled down and stuck by each other, and there wasn't any finger pointing. And
now that's what I found. I come back for the last year in 2013. So I come back and played most of the reserve grade, a bit of a backup role first grade. And our reserve grade team merged with Cronulla.
That's right.
We had a great team. It's the only time, won about 16 in a row. It was the only time in my life. It was great. And there was Chatty Townsend, a lot of the young blokes, Peach now, who's gone on, but a lot of good young players in that team. And I remember it was obviously we would come up end of the week and we were Sharks.
Yep.
Mate, you would not have thought from my point of view, just that anything was going on in terms of the players were fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously we'll have home games, we'll play before. So I'm sharing the sheds with blokes I played against.
Yep.
But everyone was fucking energetic and tight, and no one, even us, because we were Melbourne, like a lot of us blokes would then go and play in first grade Melbourne, so we'd be against some of these blokes as well, but everyone was welcoming. It was a real good environment, considering when you look back, fucking the turmoil that was going on around you.
Yeah, well, I put that down to probably 2 players there. That was Wade Graham and Paul Gallen. Gal had the most at stake, but they really stuck solid and got the playing group. Hey, let's deal with that. And then, but when we crossed that line with footy players, and they got it done. And I remember those years when the club was joined with Melbourne. It's strange that because we had such we had such a strong rivalry with them. Will Chambers, there was punch-ons, and the Cameron Smiths, the sin bin that we remember stood on the sideline.
Fans are into him.
And that's all based on really being competitive against each other, and then obviously the grand final. But a lot of people forget that before that we were joined in the reserve grade and
won the reserve grade competition. Won it in a canter.
It was a strange relationship. I used to always go.
And you were tight with Bellyache too.
Yeah, I always used to go, like I knew you boys were coming up from Melbourne about pulling stuff off the walls, games.
Yes, okay, just leaving me around.
Yeah, or is there any tip sheets laying around here? And I was always going to put a dummy one out there.
In case we get back.
Brett Finch, I knew he'd pick up straight away.
I'd read and go, Flino, you're incorrect. I can't tackle. Or my left shoulder's weaker than my right. Mate, just look back on it, and obviously we'll get into it at the end. You want to get back in the coach. You're a premiership winning coach. There ain't too many of them around. Not too many people with that on their CV. Man, how long does the anger linger? How long did it linger? Because in the end, you got to fucking move on from that, don't you? Yeah. And you sort of faced it all, virtually copped it all on your ace.
Yeah. Well, it was me and Gal sort of had to sort of stand up and cop it all, but. Yeah, without a doubt, Finch here was a tough period. I went for a period of feeling sorry for myself, and had some dark days, and I didn't go out of the house. I'm sure you've been there.
Yeah, I'm in there every Monday.
But in the end, the thing that got me out of it was that. My 2 daughters and Kyle and my wife and mum and dad and all that sort of stuff that, I'm the solid rock in the family, and everyone looks to me for, whether they're making decisions and, all that type of stuff. So I had to stand up and I had to, man up and just get on with it. And over time, as I said, I look back on it now. I just want to get back into coaching.
Yeah.
That will be the thing that sort of sews up the
When's
last
that?
bit of
When are you
wound.
right to get back in?
I can get coached now.
No, right.
Yeah, so...
well, there must be some options out there, surely, without going... But
yeah, there'll be some options out there, but...
Surely.
I know how hard it is as NRL coaches, and I don't want to be death riding anyone, but something will come up in time, and I'm ready to go, and I know I can coach. I've won a lot of comps, whether lower grades or in the NRL, and I've learnt from my mistakes. So, anyone's listening, I'm out there ready to go.
Well, probably no one's listening. That's the only that's the only problem. If I see anyone in the street, no, I interviewed Wade Graham on, and Wade's a bit like Kieran Thorne for me. I would have loved to have played with Wade.
Yep.
I know Wade pretty well just from against each other. We bumped each other out a few times having a beer. Man, he should have played when I played. He would have suited when you played in the 80s, old school. Just would have loved to have played with Wade. He's a terrific bloke, and as you're really close to him. Yeah. And I was speaking to him, maybe an off air, and just about the time there and his impact. Your impact on his career, and he couldn't speak highly enough.
Yeah,
he couldn't speak of how important you were for his career, and where you got him. To hear those sort of things, that must make you feel good, and
Well, I think you get a feel for players that like if you're trying to help them, and I'm trying to help all my players, but you always have sometimes better relationships with others. And Wade was one of those players that, as I said, I signed him as the first player I ever signed as a head coach, and then he came across and. That year we weren't that good. We were still trying to build our roster, and he played 5'8". He came across as a 5'8", and he wasn't playing that good. And like sometimes when he was early, he was crying in the dressing room. He was really upset with his performance, and I understand, Flano, if you drop me back to reserve grade and all that sort of stuff. And I think the defining moment was, hey, listen, Wade, I ain't dropping you anywhere. Yeah. You're here to be our first grade 5'8". I think you could play lock, forward, or edge back row, but you're here for good. Like, stop worrying about that. And
it's his passion in it,
just passion away. And as you said, he's a big body. He's a footy player. The new rules, I know he's a little bit older now, but the new rules, if it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, he would have been perfect at it. And he can ball play. He can carry strong if he wants to.
Kick.
Yeah, kick. That was probably a real big point of 2016. We could shift him and Luke Lewis, both back rows on the edge, who could kick.
Especially for a halfback, isn't it? Like, have a look, and if
get
it's
pressure,
not on...
You'll get pressure. You just hoik it off to your
Or
back
even
row.
sometimes you think it's on and you shift it to the centre, and then if it's not on, they put a shit kick in and you're in trouble for throwing it. But you go to Wade, you then have the smarts to sum it up, whether to put it on the toe.
Why did you pass it to the back row there, Finchy? Well,
exactly.
There's a bit of heat on me. I thought there was a bit of space there, and then he gets a good quick kick in and it makes it really hard.
Why did I pass it away? Because he's a better kicker than me. That's what I would have said.
Well, and, the back row kicking that ball there brings the winger up.
100%. And he has that smart... first he plays like a second 5'8" on that edge anyway, doesn't he?
And the thing about Wade is too that he's a knockabout. He plays, and as you know, he likes his beer. Probably as a coach, he likes it a little bit too much for me sometimes. And now he's got a young family. Things have changed. So I've seen Wade evolve as a footy player and as a man. So they're really good stories. And like as a coach and a father, you sort of sit back and go, you had a bit of influence on that bloke's career, and you're pretty happy with it.
Yeah. Well, before we dive into the good stuff we want to talk about, 2016 Premiership. Mm-hmm. How important is that? Obviously you know my position on, but that you still you have that larrikin and all that blokes. Because I got there was times in my career probably my attitude wasn't great, but 9 times out of 10 when it was time to train, I trained hard. Or when it's time to play,
you did. You were one of the fittest blokes there.
Yeah, Wado's like when it's serious. Let's go. Yep. How important is it to have those? You can't all be fucking square edge. You know what I mean? How important is to have the balance to have that? And the bloke will. He can go over because I know he's going to turn up and train the next day. So
early days, Chris Hynington used to say that I've got the mix wrong. I've got too many larrikins or too many loose cannons.
Yeah. And you have too many of them.
Yeah, I have too many. It tips over and the team falls out of control, spirals out of control. But But you've got to have a couple of them, you know. I think he said the magic number was 8.
Yeah.
We had 8. Yeah. It was too many.
Yeah.
And he was one of them. Chris was one of them.
Exactly. What do we say? Hi, I'll get rid of no, I'll stay.
He put himself in that 8, but we needed to chop a couple down, and we got rid of Bo Ryan.
Bo. Well, mate, it always starts at the outside in. You're the winger, Bo.
Get rid of the winger. They're
the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. So, but being serious, you've got to have that mix. And, you know, I look at 2016. You always do as a coach, you know, what was your most successful? And we had some characters in there. And we had some, I wouldn't say square heads, but we had some players that were a little bit older, and we had some blokes that just sort of were happy to be there, and it was a great. And some young kids that were coming through, Birdie and Valentine Holmes, that just sort of jumped on the train and said, "How good's this?" You know? So, but it's a real fine line between getting too many and not having enough.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's talk about 2016. You know, we'll start back from the beginning, but when you look at it all. The Sharks, when the Sharks get in? Is it 50 years they've been in?
Yeah, it's 50 years.
They've won comp once.
Yep.
You know, and that's with you at the helm. Mm-hmm. That can never be taken away from you.
No, I remember talking to Mark Lamble, and he was very similar at Newcastle. That he was there in their first won the comp, and he said, you know, they can never take it away from you.
But they've gone on that too. You're the first and only at this stage.
Yeah. Well, you know, who knows how long that's going to be, but. I always had, you know, beliefs that if we could get the team together, and I needed a few things, a bit of luck to fall in our way, you know, like getting James Maloney, getting Michael Innes off the Bulldogs.
He was good, wasn't he?
You know,
last couple of years.
You know, Desi decided he didn't want Michael, and so, like, to be honest, if we didn't get those two players, the jigsaw puzzle just is still not complete. And they were the two last sort of pieces to the jigsaw puzzle, and. You know, it was a fantastic season, and you know, as you said, had characters, had young blokes, had old blokes, and it was just a fantastic mix, and it was a fantastic year, you know, off the field as well.
I mean, when you look back, and you've done a shitload of pre-seasons from fucking SG ball coach to now, is there anything different you did, or is like that year, you know, sometimes there's a feel, or was there anything? Looking back in hindsight, they just did different. That you look back now and go, that could have been a turning point, or you know, you could see the boys were on the right track.
Well, I definitely know that it was the right time for me as a coach. If I would have got that group of players, say if I had that group of players 5 years earlier, I wouldn't have been able to do it. They were too challenging.
Yeah. There's some proper fucking not egos, but characters.
You know, like you know, Louis and. You know, Gal and Fafita and all these type of players that I wouldn't, if it was 5 years earlier, I wouldn't have been able to coach them the way I did in 2016. So I needed that experience because, you know, when players that have got experience like Michael Innes and Luke Lewis and Gal and them come to you with questions or problems, or you need to be able to give them an answer. You know, not straight away, but you need to be able to solve the problem for them.
And you can't bullshit them, can you? Because I see through that.
You know, and Mick used to challenge me a fair bit on, you know, the way we're playing or, you know, what's happening with the team. And I needed to have an answer for him. And he used to run with it. But, you know, I don't think I'd be able to do that 5 years earlier. So the timing is the team and the timing of me as a coach and me as my staff. I had Steve Price got the sack at the Dragons as head coach, and I got him in here, and he was amazing for me. Like, he was a real rock, and he's real solid, and, you know, got some really good staff around me, physios, and Andrew Gray come from the Dragons as head of performance. So, you know, it's the team that you see on the footy field, but there's another team off the field that is really
important that in coaching. Obviously, your ability to coach the team, game plans, get the best out of players, but then. And I don't use the word ego, but criticising people. Your best players have egos, and then you want them to have egos. You know, that good arrogance about them. How hard was that to not stroke egos, but control different personalities? You know, as well as I need to coach the team as well.
Well, that's what I said. 5 years earlier, I wouldn't have been able to. Do all the personality stuff. Like, the way I treat you is going to be different than the way I treat, you know, someone else. You know, like the way I treat Michael Innes and Gal and maybe Wade is different than I'm going to treat Jack Bird and Valentine Holmes. You know, they've just come into first grade, and you need to be able to do that. You know, and if I spoke the way I spoke to Gal, to some of the other players, they'd lose it, you know. But Gal was like, he wanted to be spoken, like say at half time, you know, Gal, you need to do this. You know, you've let us down here and so on. But if I spoke to other players like that, they'd drop their marbles and be a mess the second half. So as a coach, it's been able to assess all those personalities and address it correctly. You know, like you needed to have rocket.
Yeah.
And you needed to have.
So I'm going, fuck you, I'll go and prove you wrong.
Well, it's no use me coming into you at half time and cuddling you. And, you're doing it. That wasn't that good, Brett. But in the next second half, do it this way, eh? Like, that's not going to work for you. That ain't going to work for you. You need to pay Finchy. That wasn't good enough. You need to do A, B, and C in the second half, or you'll be playing second grade next week. And that used to pull your finger out.
Fuck, it did.
But it's no use going to Freddie and going,
you've been reserve grade next week. No, I won't be.
Yeah, or, hey, Freddie, that wasn't good enough, you know. And because Freddie used to go, mate, in the 78th minute, I'll just have a left foot step and I'll win the game for you.
And you're exactly right. And that must have been hard too. It's probably what you're talking about from 5 years earlier from your starting, because your time under stick there, 4 or 5 years there at the Roosters, it was all machine gun. Like it was fucking foot up the arse stuff. And that's what I grew up with, and that's what I learnt how I to address players better when I got older, because I was quite ruthless to teammates because it was ruthless to me, you know, like I got hammered. But that's how it was for everyone. So that must have been a big change, that sort of shift in coaching.
Well, I think Sticky's definitely changed as well, you know, like that environment at the Roosters was so high performance. It was, mate. It was high performance. They expected to win the competition. You know, the board, Nick,
every year.
and Sticky won it in his first year. So, like, you got to win it the second and third.
I come second 2 years in a row and I was under pressure.
Yeah, so it was just that environment. But I think it's changed, and I think obviously, you know, everyone changes it with time. But you know, to be able to assess what your team can handle and what they can't handle is really important as well. You know, like I see some of the coaches at the moment have, you know, gone off their nana and, you know, give the team a spray at round 3 and round 4. You know, that's dangerous sometimes. What are you going to do in round 20?
They're still doing the same thing.
You know, if you're doing the same thing, like, you know, mum and dad come in and yell at you, it starts to lose effect after a time. You know, you just okay, and get on with it. But so you need to be able to time those sprays and, you know, be judged if the team needs it and how they're going to react to it.
Well, let's dive into the 2016 season. You win 15, 16 games in a row, which is fucking... It's hard enough to win 4 in a row. Anyone who's played the game knows that. So it's like what Penrith's doing now. It's off the charts. It's a great level of consistency.
I think we lost our first 4 of the season.
Yeah, and you lost your last 1-1-1 of 5.
Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt, you know, the way you were tracking, you had a big win in Melbourne in the rain down there. And Melbourne, they were a pretty impressive team. And you just had the wood on them down there a couple of years in a row. You just had a good win down in Melbourne. And you had a good win in Melbourne at home. And then you just went on a run. But you just win 1 of the last 5, including the last game in Melbourne for the minor premiership. You just get beat 24-6.
Yeah.
Was there any, not alarm bells, because, you know, but I was thinking, fuck, we're smooth sailing, and now we've won 1 from 5. You know, we're 15 in a row, and now the last 5 have only got 1 win.
I smelled it coming in. I think we won 15 in a row, and like that period was like everything was going well. We didn't have too many injuries. We trotted the same 17 out or same 18 out week after week, and it was a really enjoyable period. And then players started to look at the, you know, with 5 rounds to go, started to look and
you know you're going to be in the finals.
They knew we were going to be first or second.
Yeah.
You know, they knew we were in the top 4, and like. The target at the start of the year was to finish at the top 4, and then with 5 weeks to go, they've reached their target. And some of the senior blokes in Gal and Michael Innes and all them, well, they never actually asked for time off. They were looking for easy days because they didn't want to get injured, get suspended, and miss a semi-final.
And they know this might be the last throw of the dice for them.
Well, you know? Knowing that we've got a footy team that can do it, you know, so they were sort of... you know, and that rubs off on everyone. You can't hide that sort of stuff. And, you know, we'll be right. It will be right. They have that attitude and we'll be able to put our foot back down on the floor when we need to. But as a coach, it concerned me a little bit. In hindsight, I could see what they were trying to do. But, it was a bit of a concern to lose those games. And then we went to Melbourne and we wanted to have a crack. In that last game, obviously to win the minor premiership would have been a good achievement, and were poor. We were real poor, and it was a really good opportunity for me to say, you blokes thought you knew what you were doing, but you didn't.
Yeah,
you
my
know,
turn.
and Gal was really strong in that after that game, going, this is perfect for us. This is perfect. We're going to play them at home in a week or two. This is our perfect opportunity to turn the tables. We know what it takes, and they just had a real attitude and commitment to each other and belief. So. As I said, in hindsight, it's easy to say, but at the time, I shit myself.
Well, mate, you beat the Raiders. Fucking Mick has to get chased out of town because he fucking does the Viking clap in front of the fans.
Now he works.
Oh, exactly. He's a fucking genius, isn't he? He's a genius. I got run out of town there in 2001. I'm still not allowed back. Mick incited a riot, and he's fucking welcome back with open arms. You beat the Cowboys. Right, he's in the grand final. Fucking and. You know, I remember the Super League GF '97. Sharks were never beaten Brisbane. It was at ANZ. They've come close in '98. Sharks from minor premiers got rolled by Mundine and Blacklock. They were back flipping everywhere at Stadium Australia in the prelim.
Yep.
Fucking, this could be fucking the time. And everyone hates Melbourne anyway. Whoever's from outside of Melbourne, or if you haven't played for them. And the grand final week, run me through the Shire, must have been fucking electric.
Yeah, it was. Well, when we played the Cowboys, we got off to a really good start and had a fantastic, I think it was 26-4 at half time. And then we went on the second half and, sort of didn't go further away, but we stayed long enough away from them. I think it was 20 points of difference most of the second half. And I was able to take Gal, Ennis and Wade off at that period of time. Yep. And, some of the young boys had a field day that day. Val and Birdie, they become men. The big boys weren't out in the field and they had to stand up. And, it was just a really an environment that when we got back in the dressing sheds, there was a little bit of celebration, but not as much as I thought there was going to be.
Well, that's good, isn't it?
I thought I'd have to put hey, boys, what are you partying for, But there was a little bit of a celebration. They got their families in there and, we're in the grand final. How good. But that was about it. And I didn't have to, put the fire out. It was a really good. And then Monday morning, like the next morning they were there. I don't think they even put a schedule out. They just turned up and they were ready to rumble all week. So, that probably goes down to leadership in, Gal and Michael and Wade, that they, put a stop to all the celebrations. Just making a grand final isn't good enough. We've got to win it now. And there was always that, hey, no one's ever won one here. And the Shire jumped on board. Not that game. They jumped on board post the Canberra game. There was a big crowd at Canberra, and then when we played the Cowboys at Sydney Football Stadium, there was 2 Cowboys and 28,000 Sharks fans.
And mate, 28 people usually don't leave the Shire, so you're getting 28,000 going into over Captain Cook Bridge.
And that year they travelled really well, and then even grand final day, Melbourne had a patch of it.
Yeah, had about 3 people.
That was amazing for Sharks fans.
All right, mate, we'll talk about the game. In terms of a fucking game, obviously me being a Storm man, I'm sitting at home, I was going for the boys, but in terms of a game, it was an unbelievable game. Yep. And I remember thinking, and I'd like your take on it, I thought you blokes only played the perfect game. The fucking control, your kicking game was superb.
Yep.
I thought your forwards dominated most of the match. Your pressure on Cronk was outstanding. I remember thinking after the game Cooper might have been injured because how much pressure put on his kicking game. Blake Green had to do a lot of kicking because I thought Coops was carrying an injury. But he wasn't. It's just the pressure. And again, I thought Smithy was good, but you just nullified him because you just made him fucking do a truckload of tackles. I thought you executed the game plan almost to the letter.
The thing is, Finchy, we didn't have to come up with a game plan grand final week.
Yeah.
We've always had the same plan against Melbourne for 2 or 3 years.
And it's been successful too.
And it's been successful. So we tweaked it a little bit, but we'd always have the, hey, if we do these type of things, we'd always make Cameron make a heap of tackles. But we were talking, we used to make Cameron on average make 30 tackles. We need to make him make 60.
I think he did.
He made 70.
70.
So we needed to do that. And, the Cooper, obviously, the pressure we need to put in, we need to, do it better again. And then we started talking about us, and then what we need to do as a team. And as I said, what we've gone through all year, grand final week, you've been there, is just, a few little tweaks here and there, and you don't change anything because the reason that you're in the grand final is because you play good footy to get there. And I always used to remember Ron Massey saying to me when I was even coaching in lower grades and all that sort of stuff, don't coach them this week, boy. Don't coach them this week. They've done enough to get there. Don't coach them this week. So, or don't overcoach them, definitely. So, That week I sort of just let it go and come up with a plan. And as you said, they executed like to the T. You know, like I always think, little things like Jack Bird just bringing the ball back and running straight into Cameron Smith, and
Val Holmes was strong.
Val Holmes just finding him, and there's one earlier in Sharks v Cowboys that Val picks the ball up from and just runs straight at Jonathan Thurston and just launches him, and I'm going, wow, there's a young kid in his first year of first grade running into one of the great players.
He's the one you're going to hope is he on? Is he going to be? Oh yeah, he's on.
So those things were just, something that was really enjoyable to watch and develop over the years. But they were a really good group of self-assessment. That team, like. It wasn't me telling them, hey, this is what you need to do for the team. They used to really be good at, hey, Vinchy, this is what we need you to do for the team. And they used to tell each other
keep
weekly.
each other accountable.
And it wasn't me there all the time saying, hey, boys, you need to do this as an individual or my front row.
Because it gets old too, doesn't it, as a coach,
So the players used to get in there and they used to stand up. And from, 1 to 17, hey, when we win, you do this for us, and it was really enjoyable to coach and be a part of, because I was just sort of the orchestra. I just sort of pushed him here and pushed him there and told him when to train and when not to train, and they was really, as you said, really made each other accountable of what they needed to do for the team, and if you didn't do it, they were quick to jump on it.
They govern themselves too a bit, don't they?
And if you can get a side to be able to, that's a hard job to get a team to be able to do that, because they need to be majority of maturity, understand what it is to play NRL, and then obviously, how to win in the NRL.
That's when I speak about Melbourne, and that's probably, I think that's a fucking great rap for you, Flanagan, because I say that's why Bellyache's so good, and mate, Bellyache doesn't have to discipline anyone. It never gets a chance to get to Bellyache. The players fucking nip it in the bud, because senior players are driving his message. So that's, the senior players are driving, they're all in about what you're about and driving your message. So that's probably one of the best compliments you can get as a coach.
Yeah, and I had a really good relationship with those three leaders. Like Gal used to be more of the game day stuff. He used to get us right on game day and make sure that players were accountable of what they did on game day. And Michael was the bloke that did everything during the week, 100 miles an hour and perfect preparation. He wanted, if he didn't, train well, he'd be worried about his performance on the weekend, and so he used to keep everyone accountable about training. And then Wade was the Brett Finch of the group, got everyone together and had barbecues and went for a beer here and there and played games, and he was the one that kept the group tight, and if there was anyone sort of falling away or had something going on in their life, that Wade used to go and address it. So they worked really good together as a senior group, and they've all been good captains, and they're really important for that group.
You talk about Wado, and I'm sure you're right behind this with him. The best edge I've ever seen, I've played with, I've ever seen in my footy career, the right edge, I'd like to say the last 20 years, the right edge, Cronk, and whether it was Adam Blair, Kevin Proctor, Felice Kafusi, Cronk, Slater at the back, Chambers, and then whoever the winger was, that they fucking destroyed teams for 15 years. I've never seen anyone shut them down except for one edge. Your left edge led by Wade. Wade, terror. How he got them off kilt and how you boys got them off kilt, got them off balance, shut down the right edge, which, over the years, like I said, this back row may have changed, but that right edge, with Cooper leading it, mate, it tore teams apart for years. But fucking you blokes really did a job on them plenty of times as well.
Yeah, well, there was always Wade had good leg speed and all that group, and they had a personality about him. It was Ricky Latelli was pretty, he didn't say a lot, but he got a job done. And on that side was Chad, who's probably not renowned for defensively. He's more about getting the team around the park. But Wade led that with I'm going to jam Cooper. I'm going to get up onto him quick, and I'm not going to give him time to do all his shit. Let Blair lead and really out the back. I'm going to cut his time down. And mate, I could show you 100 videos of Wade just coming at him as hard as he can from the inside and getting him just either before he releases the ball or when he does. And that just rattles. I don't care how tough you are. That's going to rattle you. You're going to start looking and playing a little bit earlier. And if you start playing a little bit earlier, it's going to take away the effect of the play. So.
And you start seeing ghosts a bit, don't you? Because well, fuck, I'm looking for the ball here. But then where is he? Where's he coming from?
And I had that on the other edge as well. Like I remember once we played Newcastle and I probably went a little bit overboard on the impact that Ponga was having on the Newcastle Knights. And Luke Lewis walked out of the dressing sheds, and after we did a video and started mumbling something like that, he said, "If I hear one more thing about Kalen Ponga,
because he's the back row on that edge.
He's the back row thing. I'm going to go and
he said it to you.
Blow up."
Yeah.
No, he said it to the other boys, but I heard it.
Yeah, and you look beautiful.
And I said, so yeah. Anyway, next day he just gave him he just non-stop, just straight in.
Did you win 60 that day? Was that?
As soon as Ponga got the ball, he just was into him. So. That's what we talked about before, taking ownership and being real accountable of your performance. And I didn't have to go to those players and say, this is what you need to do.
Well, that's the old warrior, isn't it? You're not, in no way you're questioning Louis' ability, but the old warrior thinks, is he fucking thinking I can't handle this bloke or what? Well, just that competitive fire.
This young kid's going to get the better of me.
Exactly,
He's kidding himself, isn't he? So, they were very, very similar. And Louis' edge had different players than Wade's edge, but they had always had competition between their edges.
Who let most tries in?
And our edge is solid defensively, and they had a little bit of competition there. And like a lot of the middles used to just sort of talk about it. That, these two little gay edges.
Yeah, they're doing all the work.
You make 4 or 5 tackles a game, you boys. What are you talking about?
Mate, we talk about the game. Chambers scores, hits the lead. You were camped on their line, brilliant. The way he's built pressure was superb. Storm don't get much of an opportunity. I think they crash over close to the line.
Yep.
And a few minutes later, Chambers scores. Fucking, they're in front 12-10.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, here, this is another Melbourne just absorbed all that energy, and now they're in front. What were you thinking in the box? Thinking, fucking.
I knew it was always going to be a tight game, but we played some of our best footy and still weren't leading. And. The first try that they scored, it was just Jesse Bromwich just powering over the top of someone, and we knew that was happening, but it's okay to know what's happening and be able to handle it, and it was just a big body on a small. Benny Barber was caught in the line there, and we tried to hide him, and Benny was pretty smart about hiding himself, but it just happened too quick. And credit to the Storm, they found him and they scored their try. But the Chambers one was probably more of an error from us. We overchased and, we were so keen. Like I remember Michael Innes and all them going past the ball and Chambers just steps back off his right foot and goes right foot and he goes under the post. So at half time it was, we played well, but we're behind. And we all sort of knew that it was going to come down to, what happened in the second half. And we'd always had this belief that we were stronger and tougher than Melbourne. Will Chambers would run in every time we play him and there'd be a stink. And Gal would talk about it. If he comes in, I'll be there. So don't worry about it. And it created this belief within the group that no matter who they are in Melbourne Storm, we're tougher than them. We mightn't be as skillful as them of a footy team, but we're tougher than them, So they want to get down nitty gritty and go set for set on your try line. We're tougher than them. And they believe that.
Yeah, I remember Gus used to call fucking Shark Park Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
And he was a fucking awful to play against. Yeah. Didn't matter where you're coming, even back in 2010 and 11. Mate, you go down there and it's pull you down in the gutter and it's an arm wrestle. You might be coming first, we might be coming last, but we're going to, you're going to have to be tough to beat us,
That goes back to what we spoke about a while ago about designing your team around the type of people you got, and I had tough players. They weren't skillful. They weren't the most skillful players in the game, but they were definitely. I had 6 or 7 of them. One of the Jeremy Smith, Gal, and Cade Snowden, and all them. Yeah. They were tough buggers. So you weren't going to go in a street fight with them. If you did, beautiful. So we used to have to play the way accordingly to the type of player I had, and that became the Shark Park attitude.
Now you talk about over chasing. Well, one of the most epic, probably fucking heart in the mouth finishes for you as a coach. Melbourne make an incision, they shift left. Yeah. And then they come back to the right, and talk about it's like under sevens. Yep. The blokes running the ball here, and everyone's on they did, everyone was on the bike one day, and they just saved a try, and then just win the game. Run me through that the last minute for you in the box, and then the realisation of a dream come true.
Well, we get our 14-12, and Jesse Bromwich drops it on about the 40-metre line in a really good tackle. Matt Pride just jams him. And there's another thing, they used to tell Matt Pryor that he's better than Jesse Bromwich every time. Jesse
he
Bromwich,
played well for Nick Pryor.
and whether it was true or not, Matt Pryor started to believe it. So Jesse Bromwich, in about the 75th minute, carries the ball, and Matt Pryor jams him because he believes that he's better than him. He drops the ball, and then we run that set out. It would have been nice to score then and finish it all over. But Chad Townsend kicks it over the sideline, and Melbourne come in, and I think there was about a minute 30, and I was going, surely they can't score. Surely they can't score. But then I started to think, it is Melbourne Storm, and they've got these special players on the other side. And, but we used to always train once a week. We used to do this drill where we'd have 13 v 8 and defending our try line, and we used to always say to them, if it gets down to a situation, we can defend our try line with 8. You know, imagine if we get 9, 10, 11, 12 back on. And what you saw in that last minute of footy, us defending, we practiced that for a long period of time. And I was just so glad and so lucky that we eventually made the tackle. But it went for a long time. Went from one side to the other side and back again. And Melbourne Storm are so good at that. I'm pretty glad Billy Slater wasn't there.
Well, you're running through the film. Not only are you a premiership winning coach, but Cronulla. Ding dong, the witch is dead. What the girls say, turn off the porch light. Yeah. Well, and it's true. And I made a joke to Jimmy Maloney about when he went to sign at Sharks. Said, well, it's about the Roosters. We won't win a comp again, because I was just not that I knew Cronulla were a good club, but you just take the piss out of it, But that's no longer, and you blokes are the originals. When you're coming down from the box, fuck, you must have been proud, relief. What were the emotions?
It was like I wanted to get down there early. I would have liked to have 2 minutes or 3 minutes on the sideline. But you couldn't leave the box, could you? No, I couldn't leave the box. And then at no stage did I ever think we've won until we actually won, So you didn't get any time to enjoy it. And then, you spend a little bit of, it felt like about a minute in the box with your staff, and then the security guards at the door wanted to take you down to the sideline, and then you get down the sideline and it's just mayhem, And I wanted to get to obviously Gal and find out where they all were, and a lot of them were still over the far side where the last tackle was made, and then so you get to many players as you can. I don't know if I got to all of them, but and then I started to worry, because it's not a handshake. It's a fucking it's like you want to get to them before the actual presentation, and then there's some staff that have done enormous jobs to get players on the field, and you want to celebrate with them because they don't get the raps or the praise. But even the back staff have probably been there for 25 years. There was there was people that have been there for at least 20 years that have just for $1,000 or $2,000 a year and just worked their butts off, and don't even get to watch the game sometimes. They're in the dressing room, in the sheds, picking up strapping and so on. So it was really important for all of those people, and then seeing the emotion on all the crowd, and then you go, where's the missus, and where's Kyle, and where's my daughter? So it was, it just went like that. And then we went back into, by the time we got back into the sheds, a lot of the families and friends and that were in there, and then you got to do your press conference, and then all that sort of died off, and then we go back out in the field, just the players and the staff. That was probably when I first realised we'd won the competition. That was the first time that you could take a breath and just you and the boys, just you and the boys, and so that was probably about, I don't know, it felt like 12 o'clock at night, but that was probably the first time that you go, hey, we won. Yeah, and then you head back to the Shire. It must have been something you'll always forget. Something you'll never forget. The Shire. The bus trip back was pretty special. Yeah. I think the bus only supposed to hold 58. I think it was 158 on it. Hey, and you know what? If you lose, there's about 8 on there. About 28. Yeah. So there was people I didn't even know on the bus. And you don't care. More the merrier. And it was a good trip home. The bus trip to the way to the game, we had a police escort from the Southern Shire in case something happened. It was so slow. This policeman, he stopped at every red light. That's why you got an police escort, so you don't have to stop. No, he made us stop on every light, and he was so slow. Seriously, it took us 50 minutes to an hour to get to Homebush, and usually it's not that long. But on the way home, he wanted to drive flat out, and we wanted to be slow. Yeah. And and then we got back to the Shire, and then all the people, I don't think the club knew exactly what was going to happen. Which you've never won a competition, and it was a bit of guess what's going to happen. And we got back there, and there's probably 3,000 or 4,000 people out in the field. So that was good. And then obviously, the party started from there.
So you wouldn't have to guess what I'd be doing, what was going to happen. Mate, and then with obviously what happened previously with all that other shit, that must have been a proud moment to know the adversity you fought back from to lead the club to the Premiership.
Yeah, and the club, there was a lot. I know I can coach. I've got no problems with that. I've learned some hard lessons in some other areas, but just to be able to come back from that, and in 2014 the club got the wooden spoon. In 2016 we win it. Like, that's unheard of. No side comes from 14, 2 years they win the competition. Maybe they slowly increase, but that was an amazing effort from the whole club, and to win the first one was great, and it was a little bit of self-satisfaction that I could prove everyone that I could do it.
Well, you spoke about young fella Cole there. I enjoy watching him play. I just think I'll ask you from a dad point of view, but you're also, it was a bit like my dad. My dad was a coach, but he was my dad, so he didn't. He was involved in the nights. He didn't want to get involved, but you go to your dad because one, he's my dad, but two, I know he's
got some information for me.
Fucking can teach me.
Yep.
How's that balance been over the years? Because obviously I remember just being a player, and just over the years, Kyle was he was a standout junior. He was in quality teams that were winning, and now he's first grade. How's that? Because I know what you're like. You don't want to impose, but you're still a dad, and I'm sure you've got knowledge he wants to know as well.
Yep. When I was at the Sharks, he made his debut, which is great to be able to give him his debut jersey, and he deserved it then. And obviously I was coaching him, but when we had the relationship at training, that he got treated exactly the same 100%. As everyone else, and had some senior players, as I said, as we've gone through plenty of times before, that kept him kept him in line, and you don't get any favours here, you still got to train.
If anything, he's probably under more spotlight.
I remember he parked in Kyle parked in Gal's parking spot.
Didn't enough in blocks, his car off on blocks.
Gal said to him, when I walk back out of training, if your car's not there and my car's not back there...
So he's got to park his car back in there?
And Kyle goes, well, where's Gal's keys? And Gal said, you just work it out. Work it out. He said, but my car needs to be back in that car spot. But, he learned, and he learned a lot from those type of players. And then when I left the Roosters, and then Kyle's contract was up, and then when he left the Sharks and went to the Roosters, for me, as a father and as a coach, I thought he's going to the best place. He's going to a club that, obviously I've coached at, and I know what the club's like. So I thought it was a great move for him, and I thought he had a fantastic
I thought he was fantastic. Did he get top point scorer as well?
He just missed out.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic too.
He got dropped there for a couple of weeks, but
he was a kid.
Yeah.
That's playing a tough position.
He probably didn't handle that real well because he thought he was playing okay, and Robbo had his reasons for it, and that's his right. He's a coach, and then obviously that he was moving into some pretty good money the years after, and the Roosters just thought that it'd be best to move him on because of the salary cap, and they got young Walker there, and that was a business decision, and he's at the Bulldogs now, and they're at a different stage of his career where they're just building, and they're going to have some good players there next year, but. He's learning a little bit, and he's never actually had to be in a side that struggled. He's been his whole career wins everything. They won 10 competitions as a junior, won under 20s, and then goes to the Roosters. It's just been win. Now it's a little bit harder.
I did the game for SEN, the Sharks
Bulldogs
game, and it's a bit like I fucking defend most because I know how fucking hard it is, and try and defend. If I'm going to be critical, be constructive, because I hated former players think they know it all, because it's fucking hard. Anyway, I talked about halves. I said, mate, listen, as a halfback, the game, and I thought he was superb against Cronulla, which would have been very satisfying for him against his old mates. Got under William Kennedy's skin there. He
didn't play. He did some good things, but he did some stupid things as well. But that's out of passion.
Passion, 100%. You'd rather that. Yeah. And I said, the beauty of this, and I said to Tim, I was calling it with Tim. I said, mate, this is the first time the kids got to actually play leading.
Yeah.
I said, so a halfback was a bit like with Manly when they were bagging Cherry Evans. I said, when you're in front, you get to practice you get to put into place everything you've practiced during the week. When I'm down 20-0 after 15 minutes, I can't just go through the motions. In my head, I'm thinking, fucking, instead of the percentage kick to the corner, I'm thinking, I've got to make up something. I might chip and chase. Your mind, you're pushing the envelope slowly because you're always chasing your tail. it was the first time they've started well, and he could, instead of having to try and come up with something in the last play, just put it in the corner. Yeah. And I thought he was great. But one thing I love about him is he's a tough kid, and he can defend, and he wants to defend. He puts his body in front. I think that, from not only from a dad but a coach point of view, I think that in itself is going to have the respect from your teammates.
Yeah.
If you're tough, and this is what I thought with me a bit. I like defending. Now I made more errors than anyone, but my teammates knew I was going to have a go if I made an error. So they bear with you longer while you learn your trade. And I think that I see a lot of Kyle. He's a tough kid, puts his body in front, wants to tackle, not afraid to fucking take the hits.
It's something that, I give him credit, like he's doing it.
But you've instilled it.
I've sort of said to him that, you've got to be a good defender, and especially in the modern game now that it's such a central point of attack for the opposition, they're getting to the halves, you see most, if they're not getting it at the halves, they're getting the half to commit and turn in on the back row, and they're playing out the back on it. So it's such an important part of the game, and if you're a spot, 1 week you're going to be a spot for a lot of weeks, so you need to be able to,
or a lot of years in one case.
Or a lot of years, So I always into him about if a side, and this came from when his junior days, that if you miss one tackle as a halfback, you can guarantee you're going to get a couple more the next week. People coming at you, so make sure you defend well, and they'll go the other side. They'll go the other side.
And I used to be you talk about it. Yeah, I've got this bloke. I didn't have anyone, but I just didn't want him to come.
Yeah, and
he did a good job too. Once I remember, just his line speed, because as a half, you look out and the line's up and you just go the other way, Yeah.
Well, he learned that a bit off the Roosters. The Roosters had really good line speed. They just get up.
Cooper was really good like that, getting off the line.
Get up and then get in there at the half's line of sight, and
you drop someone off or turn someone back on his side.
He's worried about throwing it and intercepts, and it just happens too quickly, and they can't make a decision, so they usually just turn someone
because they're usually not seeing who it is, they just see the jumper.
The jumper, yeah.
I used to do that too. If they learnt that it was me up there, would have thought, what the fuck, we should have kept going. Mate, what's the future hold for you? Obviously, the fucking Shane Flanagan, the head coach, is a long way from finished.
Yeah, I'm doing the radio and doing a bit of stuff on Fox at the moment, which is...
you got to believe there's a club out there that's...
like as I said, there's always some changes in coaches, and, to be serious, if coaches, they want a coach that's won a competition, I've made mistakes, but I've learned from them, and there's no chance of it ever happening again. But, I want to get another job. There'll be a job out there for me, and probably, unfortunately, these days it's at a club that hasn't been going so well, and they've sacked their coach. But I just see it as a good challenge now. I'm smarter and wiser than probably at the time that I can make some a real impact and on a club. So just bide my time, Finchy. At the moment, it's not easy, but
it's a Rooster style game, but isn't it? Like Johnny Morris, your assistant who was at the Sharks. Fucking, why would you want to be a coach? Obviously, there's lots of, but it's the brutal thing of it. We speak about the 2016 Premiership, and I know that as a player, like it's fucking absolute pinnacle. But then there's the other side, the ruthless side, isn't it? Like they.
Yeah, well, you look at Michael Maguire. I think in 2015 or 14, when South win the competition, 6 months later he gets the sack. I'm just shaking my head, what happens, 16 we win the comp, I'm out at 19, but it just changes so quickly, and look at the Broncos coach, he went up there and signed 5 years. And
last 2 years. It's like the contracts I used to sign at the Roosters. Mate, we'll go to the best moment.
16 easy, as a coach and a positive player, but just be involved with that group of players and win that first competition was special.
Best player you played with?
Brett Kenny.
Best player you coached?
Oh, that's a tough one, mate.
Yeah.
The
couple?
Yeah.
Say the toughest.
The toughest player is definitely Paul Gallen.
Yeah.
The player that kept me accountable.
Or your favourite player to coach?
Yeah. I really enjoyed the challenge of coach of Michael Innes. Like he's a smart ass and he's a competitor and so I really enjoyed coaching him. Some players with enormous talent, Benny Barber, he could, catch a ball on his try line and, 15 seconds later we're scoring a try and I'm going, how did that happen? He'd go to the left, he'd go to the right, he'd catch, he'd support. Valen Holmes was on fine form there and, we spoke about Wade earlier. So Yeah, it'd be one of those players from 2016. You know, you talk about James Maloney, like James Maloney. You see him in the street, you go, mate, he can't play football. He can't play NRL.
He looks homeless.
Yeah, he does.
He looks. Me and him are the only NRL players that look homeless.
Doesn't go to the gym. He's pale. He's you hear the can't think, but he was a special footy player. So a lot of players from that 2016 side. You know, and probably going back a little bit further, the blokes that impacted, blokes like Jimmy Smith, and they were fantastic. Yeah. You know, so but Gal would be up there as one of the best.
Who would be the toughest to coach against, or the best player you've coached against?
I'd say Cameron and Billy would be there. They would just say, you know, you get.
Mate, what would I be third? I come in third.
You're in the team. You used to get a bit of a mention.
Yeah, and it wasn't he can do this, that, it's fucking run at him.
Well, if they went 4 down a short side and then you were the halves there, we'd only put 4 there. Exactly. But if they went 4 down the short side and it was Cooper, we'd put 5 there.
You put 6 there. You'd put 2 there. It was a 2 on 4.
Yeah, so those be one of those storm players from that period of time. You know, Cameron used to control the game and Billy used to just pull sides apart, you know, down short sides, on long sides, off kicks. There were so many things you had to concentrate about. And, you know, as a coach, you knew all the tricks and the trade that they had, but to get it into your footy team was hard. And then to react to it when it was about to happen, that was hard. Yeah. So,
who wins the comp this year?
Can I just go back one story?
Yeah.
You'll love it. James Maloney story.
About Melbourne?
No, James Maloney was at the Sharks.
So just Jimmy, how long's he been at the Sharks?
No, it was in 2016.
Yeah.
He'd been there 2 years, and he was awful in the gym. Sometimes our trainer would go.
Would you even do weights?
Well, sometimes our trainer said our head strengthening will go, look, mate, if you're going to be disruptive this afternoon, just go home. So he used to go home. He go, I'm going to be disruptive. He didn't argue the point. He just said, I'm going to be disruptive. I'm going home. Yeah. Anyway, so we didn't know about it, and there was a few things going missing from the gym. So we put a camera in there to find out what was going on.
What do you mean going missing?
There was just little things like, you know, bands and all that sort of stuff. We were spending all this money. I'm not accusing Jimmy of this because he doesn't like
But were you even thinking... You just had no idea where it's going.
Didn't know where it was going. You know, whether there was some the younger kids coming in the night were just taking stuff home, or you know there was rollers, and it just started to add up. So we put a camera in the gym, and it was a safety thing as well. You know, like if there was an accident, we could review it. And anyway, so I didn't know about it at the time, but Jimmy told all the boys that his feet aren't going to touch the ground, the gym floor, during one whole weight session. And at the end of that,
so he can't walk on the carpet.
Can't walk on the gym floor. So
who thinks of that?
Jimmy. Yeah. So and I didn't know about it at the time. And then at the end of the year, they said, end of the week, they said, Jimmy had one of his best today. And so we got the video out of Jimmy, and he climbed from piece of equipment to piece of equipment, or jumped from piece of equipment, or put boards down so he could get to think. And then when a trainer or someone would look at him, he'd just stop, and freeze so they didn't get him.
And none of the staff knew.
None of the staff knew, and all the players knew. And he had a couple of the side bets with a couple of the players, but he got it done.
Did you look back at the footage and see?
I look back at the footage and I just go, oh my God.
And this is a bloke that's fucking
He's a Premiership halfback.
Exactly.
And this is the way he behaves.
We've signed him on a fortune to come and lead us to a Premiership.
That's that character bit.
Yeah. Mate, that's fucking gold. I wish I'd done that. Talking about Premiership, who do you think wins the comp this year, mate?
I think it'll be a Melbourne South grand final. And I think Souths have got the attack to do it, and defensively they've been pretty good this year as well. Penrith, they're by far and away the best team at the moment, and how do I leave them out? I just don't know if one or two players get injured that they could fall away, but they're definitely a chance this year, Penrith. But who knows? South, I'll just go Melbourne South.
Geez, I wouldn't pick Melbourne. Fucking be. Like a swallowing knives for you, isn't it?
Yeah, as I said, I like the coach.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like the colour. Don't like the colour of his team.
Jersey.
Mate, thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it. And thanks for joining me. Wish you all the best next year. There's no doubt. Mate, you got to find a spot somewhere because there ain't too many coaches with Premiership winner on their CV. So thanks and appreciate your honesty, mate.
Good on you, Finchy. Thank you.
Thanks, fella.